Poetic justice, the kiss that almost never happened. What if I told you that one of the most iconic kisses in 90s black cinema almost never happened? Not because of bad chemistry. Not because of a contract dispute. But because one of the biggest pop stars in the world looked at her co-star and said, "I am not kissing that man until he takes an AIDS test." And that co-star? He looked right back and said, "Tell her to go forget herself." This is the story of what really happened behind the cameras of Poetic Justice, and trust me, it's wilder than the movie itself. The year is 1993. Director John Singleton had just shaken Hollywood with Boys and the Hood. Critics were calling him the next Spike Lee. Studios were throwing money at him. And instead of making a safe follow-up, Singleton did something bold. He decided to make a film centered entirely around a young black woman's pain, healing, and love. That film was Poetic Justice. The story follows a young hairdresser from South Los Angeles named Justice, played by Janet Jackson. Justice is not okay. She watched her boyfriend get shot and killed right in front of her. She's withdrawn. She's guarded. She expresses her feelings the only way she knows how, through poetry. And here's something beautiful about those poems. They weren't written by some Hollywood screenwriter sitting in a Beverly Hills office. Those poems were written by Maya Angelou, one of the greatest poets America has ever produced. So every time Justice picks up her pen in this movie, you're hearing real art. Real pain. Real soul. Now Justice's best friend Aisha, played by a young Regina King, before she became the legend she is today, convinces her to join a road trip. They're riding in a mail truck, all the way from South Los Angeles to Oakland. And on that truck? 2 postal workers. Aisha's boyfriend Chicago, played by Joe Torre. And a man named Lucky. Lucky is played by Tupac Shakur. Now before we go further, you need to understand who these 2 people were in 1993. Janet Jackson was not just famous. She was a global superstar. The sister of Michael Jackson. The woman behind Rhythm Nation, Control, That's the Way Love Goes. She had sold tens of millions of records. She was Hollywood royalty walking onto that set. Tupac Shakur was a rising star. He had just broken out in a film called Juice, where he played a cold-blooded villain named Bishop so convincingly that people were genuinely scared of him in real life. He was raw. He was magnetic. He was the kind of actor that once you see him on screen, you can't look away. John Singleton saw that energy and knew Lucky had to be Tupac. But before Tupac even got the role, Singleton's first choice was actually Ice Cube. Ice Cube read the script, liked it, but refused to play a romantic lead. He said it wasn't where his career was at that moment. So he walked. And Tupac walked in. At the screen test, when Tupac and Janet met for the first time, the chemistry was immediate. Producer Lydia Reed said Tupac made you feel like you were the most important person in the room. He was warm, he was focused, he was ready to do whatever it took. That was the screen test. Then filming actually started, and everything changed. See, here's where the story gets interesting. Janet Jackson was earning a 7-figure salary on this film. Tupac was earning less than $100,000. Janet had her own luxury trailer on set. Tupac had the smallest hotel room available. Janet had helicopters landing her on set every day. Tupac was getting a car service, and even that felt like an insult compared to what she was getting. Tupac's friend Dupre Kelly said it plainly, Tupac did not have warm feelings for Janet. He'd talk about it openly. This woman is getting helicopters. I'm eating chicken and waffles every day. And honestly, you can't fully blame him. The talent gap that justified that pay gap didn't really exist. By most accounts from people on that set, Tupac was the best thing in the movie. Every scene he was in, he owned it. Janet was professional, punctual, remembered her lines, but Tupac was operating on a different level as an actor. So there was already tension. Already resentment. Already 2 worlds colliding on one film set. And then came the kissing scene. In the days leading up to the scene, Tupac was not quiet about it. He was telling anyone who would listen how he was going to bring his full energy to that kiss. He thought he was being charming. He thought he was being funny. Janet Jackson did not find it funny. 3 days before the scene was scheduled to film, Janet called producer Steve Nicolaides to her trailer. She was sitting there with her fiancé Renee Elizondo Jr. and she said to Nicolaides very clearly, "You know Tupac's reputation. He is a man about town. And I don't want to swap saliva with him until I am really sure that he is healthy and clean." She wanted Tupac to take an AIDS test before the kissing scene. Now before you judge anyone here, stop and think about the context. This is the early 1990s. The AIDS epidemic was not a news story. It was a death sentence. People were watching their friends, their family members, their heroes die from this disease. Magic Johnson had just announced he was HIV positive. The fear was real. The misinformation was everywhere. And Tupac, God love him, had a very public reputation for being with a lot of women. So Janet's request? Not entirely unreasonable. But Tupac did not see it that way. When Nicolaides went to Tupac and told him what Janet had said, Tupac exploded. He launched into a tirade filled with words I won't repeat on this channel. The short version is, he refused. Completely. He was not taking any test. He saw it as a personal insult. A slap in the face. Producer Nicolaides later said, "I honestly think he found it amusing. But he never took the test." So here you have two massive stars. A kissing scene that needs to be filmed. One refusing to take a test. The other refusing to kiss without it. What happened? They filmed it anyway. Late in the movie, after a whole road trip of tension and push and pull and two broken people slowly finding each other, Lucky finally realizes what he's been too proud to admit. He goes to Justice. He apologizes for the way he treated her. He swallows his ego. And Justice, this woman who had closed her heart since the night she lost everything, she looks at him. She smiles. And they kiss. Passionately. On screen, you would never know about the AIDS test. You would never know about the trailers and the helicopters and the salary gap. You would just see two people finally letting their walls down. It's a beautiful scene. And it only works because both of them, whatever their issues were off camera, were professionals when the camera started rolling. The movie released on July 23, 1993. It opened #1 at the box office. It made over $27 million. And it became a cult classic of 90s black cinema that people still talk about to this day. Here's the irony in all of this. After the film came out, Tupac was proud. Not embarrassed. Not bitter. Proud. He talked about kissing Janet Jackson like it was one of the highlights of his life. This man who told the producer to relay some very choice words to Janet Jackson, was out here bragging that he got to kiss her. And Janet never publicly addressed the AIDS test story during Tupac's lifetime. The full details only came out in 2025, in a biography called Only God Can Judge Me, The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur by author Jeff Pearlman. 30 years after the film was made. 30 years of that story sitting untold. Now here's what I want you to think about before you go. Was Janet Jackson wrong to ask? She was a woman protecting her health in an era when AIDS was killing people every single day and information was limited. Was Tupac wrong to refuse? He was a young black man who felt like he was already being disrespected on that set, underpaid, undervalued, put in the smallest room, and then asked to prove he was clean before someone would kiss him on camera. There is no simple answer. What I know is this: both of them showed up. Both of them performed. And the scene that came from all that tension became one of the most remembered moments of the entire decade. That's poetic justice. In more ways than one. Outro. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Drop a comment below. Whose side are you on? Janet or Tupac? Let me know. And if you're new here, welcome to Laser Vibes, where we bring you the stories behind the stories. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.